Well, welcome back. We're now in Unit 2 of the book of Jeremiah, where we deal with the call of Jeremiah. So in your assignments, you'll be translating through chapter 1 of Jeremiah, which really sets the stage for so much of the message, the theology, and the importance of God's relationship to his people, but in a special way. Now, the call of Jeremiah begins with the setting up of the history of the book of Jeremiah, and not only the book, but also the person of Jeremiah himself. Again, first we're introduced to the words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, from the priests which were in Anatot, in the land of Benjamin. So the background of Jeremiah and the city of Anatot, the very name of which, by the way, echoes an ancient Canaanite goddess, Anat, a goddess of war and fertility in the ancient Near Eastern Ugaritic and Canaanite religious literature. And it's the plural of Anat, meaning somewhere back in the history, the city was probably named after there was a belief of multiple manifestations of the goddess Anat. Hilkiah, a priest in Anatot, we read, of course, the setting of this is that he is of the priestly lineage of the Abiathar group. Abiathar, if you remember back in 2 Samuel, was one of the key priests under King David. The other was the high priest Zadok. In the transition from David, when he is very aged there in Jerusalem, and Solomon is about to become king, Abiathar gets exiled from Jerusalem, forced to live outside the priestly center in the temple world of Jerusalem, because Abiathar joined with Adonijah, who tried to set himself up as king instead of Solomon. In that particular history, as described extensively in 1 Kings chapter 1, Adonijah, seeing that his father was quite aged, unable to do much at all, barely surviving, barely alive, Adonijah gets together a coalition of Joab, the old general under King David, often call him David's henchman, and Abiathar the priest sided with Adonijah, and Adonijah sets himself up as king. And while they're having a coronation ceremony down the hill from where David's palace was located, Bathsheba and Nathan hear about what's going on and work to have, of course, Solomon to become the king. That all plays out in chapters 1 and 2 of 1 King. But as a result of, again, Adonijah is eventually executed along with Joab, Abiathar the priest was banished by Solomon to Anatot, which is located about 5 or 6 miles north of Jerusalem. So Jeremiah is from what you might call the renegade priesthood, the unfaithful priestly lineage of Abiathar. And so as a result, he would not have been looked upon fondly by the people there in Jerusalem, following the Zadokite tradition. Again, as we read in Ezekiel, who is, of course, a contemporary to Jeremiah, the high priesthood was to be in the lineage of Zadok, who was the model high priest under David and also under Solomon in that pivotal era at the beginning of the Israelite kingdom. So, again, Jeremiah, as we've talked about, has an intense and deep knowledge of God, his character, his attributes. But throughout, I want to highlight in our discussions emphasis upon justice and righteousness. Two key issues of the prophetic word that come forth from the Torah. God is a God of justice and righteousness. In our world today, a lot of people want justice. We talk a lot about social justice, but too often justice is divorced from righteousness. That is, a righteousness that comes from God and through a relationship to God. And that is a key part of Jeremiah's identity and his message. So his sensitivity to the Torah and to the Holy Spirit of God through which the words of Jeremiah come forth. So as you work through the call of Jeremiah, we look at the various parts of the setting of the book and also the essential aspects of Jeremiah being called of God and echoing throughout his book an intense understanding of Hebrew language, Hebrew rhetoric, and as you'll see, a fascinating portrayal of God in his relationship to his people.